Let's go to Paul, who is in Anderson. Hi, Paul.
Hello, how are you?
Paul, we're doing fabulous. What's on your Christmas list?
Well, I've got a 7th grader, and like you said, Christmas is coming up, and we're looking at trying to get her something to help her out with school, and I'm going back and forth between a netbook versus a tablet, and the functionality I'm looking for is obviously for her to do, Word documents for like book reports, net searches for, researching PowerPoint stuff, maybe a little Excel in there. So what does a tablet do that a netbook can't, and vice versa?
Well, let me just ask you one question before we get to this, and that is, so she's in a place where she's going to have good access to Wi-Fi mostly. Either you've got Wi-Fi in the house or something like that. So,
yes.
Okay, super. Great, because and the reason I asked this, Eric, is I'm going to make it more complicated than this, because I think there's even one more choice, and I don't see it on a lot of people's lists, but am I going to buy a tablet? Am I going to buy a netbook or a notebook perhaps, or a Chromebook?
Yeah.
I mean, and those Chromebooks are really nice as well, right? And so here's an instant-on, lightweight device, $500 or under $500. So how do I decide? And Paul, I think this is absolutely a good question. The thing is, for doing reports, I love my iPad. We're a 2 iPad house at the moment, and maybe we'll go to 3 sometime soon. But it doesn't have a keyboard on it, and so for extended typing, it can be kind of a pain in the neck. Now, for a little bit of typing, a little bit of stuff, it's not really a big a deal, but if you're going to be doing something long, or if you're going to do some real manipulation, sometimes that's kind of hard, and a keyboard is really nice.
And how about putting together like a PowerPoint presentation on an iPad?
Well, not PowerPoint, but you have the pages.
A similar type,
pages,
a slide presentation.
There's a
Keynote.
Keynote, yeah. So that actually works really well. I mean, you can actually do pretty good with that on the tablet. But again, if I'm going to do a whole lot of typing or trying to get text in there, a keyboard's still awfully useful. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't put a keyboard on a tablet for very occasional use and get by with it. But, I've never, Eric, I'm not going to ask you this, what you think about this, but I've never thought of my iPad as a complete notebook or netbook replacement. I still have a computer with a keyboard on it that I go and do most of my work at. But if I'm out running around, I carry the tablet now. I don't carry a netbook with me.
Yep. And another thought for the netbook versus the tablet. And when we talk about a tablet with enough horsepower and the software out there, the apps out there available to do this kind of thing, you're pretty much looking at an iPad. I would guess you could probably get one of the higher end Android tablets that could do the same thing, but you're probably looking at about $500 or $600 for one of the tablets that could do all of this stuff, and you could get a netbook for half of that.
Right, that's what I've seen out there.
Yeah, I think that is probably true in that regard. If you're considering a netbook now, netbooks are typically they're lower performers in terms of speed and processor and all that kind of thing. So you kind of have to make sure that you're able to live with that. So play with it a little bit and figure out. But again, in that price range, if you're in that $400 to $500 price range, I would absolutely take a look at the Chromebook. I have been blown away by what they're capable of doing, and they're different in that these Chromebooks are basically a high-powered browser that's instantly on inside this computer. So if the computer's completely turned off, you open the case and turn it on, it's on and running and ready to use in 10 seconds. And it can have multiple people on it, logged into like Google accounts, for example, and you can have guests, but it keeps everything in the cloud. It absolutely requires a good Wi-Fi connection, but I think I would absolutely go out and take a look at those and sort of stick that in the mix as well. Because you asked about things like Word, well, there's Google Docs. There's some pretty powerful spreadsheet manipulation. It's not as big as a full-blown Excel, but it's pretty strong. And then, of course, presentations, they've just updated the presentation component of Google Docs, for example, and those are all free on the web.
Okay.
So we've made it worse, Paul. We did not help. I want to make that clear. We didn't help. We just absolutely just made it worse.
No, actually, I think you've cleared up a few things, but honestly, I do not know hardly anything about Chromebooks. I will go and research that. But as far as having her being able to type and have that functionality with a netbook, I think that's probably the way we'll lean. Since this is for school, this isn't for play. So I thank you very much for your information.
All right. Thanks, Paul.